and former White House Communications Director Jen Psaki, and Trump surrogate and former political director for George W. Bush, Matt Schlapp. Great to see both of you this morning.
Great to be here.
Great to be here. Allison.
Matt, now that Director Comey has definitively said there is no basis, no evidence whatsoever for President Trump's accusations against President Obama about wiretapping, why is the White House continuing to push it?
Well, I mean, I think that what Director Comey said is that he's got no evidence that says that Barack Obama wiretapped President Trump. But
That's
as
right.
he also said there's an investigation. He finally publicly acknowledged that there's an investigation going on. And I, for one,
into the
am
meddling.
going to,
I mean, that's different. The meddling into Russia, meddling into the election.
No, let me tell you, I've been involved in these investigations. They start with a very broad goal, and they will go where the facts lead them. And the fact is this: I'm going to watch all these hearings, just like a lot of Americans are, and I'm going to see what the conclusions are. Both eventually the FBI will have some conclusions to make, and Congress will have some conclusions to make.
So you think
and
it's
at the end
possible,
of that, I'll be guided
clear,
by that
Matt,
information.
Sure, I understand. But you think, in other words, even though James Comey said, I checked with the Department of Justice, I know of no possibility of wiretapping from President Obama, nor does the Department of Justice. You think, Matt, that there's still a possibility?
Allison, this is one of the big questions here, which is we can use this word from Dragnet, this wiretapping where someone crawls up a pole and hooks onto a line, or we can talk about surveillance, which is the 21st century equivalent of what that means. And the fact is this: we know that through surveillance, which happens in all kinds of devices that all of us carry, that we have already had, as Congressman Gowdy said, the felonious leak of information. Now, I worked for President George W. Bush, where we had a whole congressional investigation over only one thing: the leak of somebody's name inappropriately. We have that right front and center in this investigation, which is why I'm glad Congress is looking at this, because I think there's a lot of issues Republicans have concerns about as well.
Okay, Jen Psaki, is this a use of taxpayer money?
Let's be clear, that is not the question they're asking right now. Leaks are serious. They should be addressed. I think everybody can establish that. But the real concern I think most people have here is about the connections between associates of the current President of the United States and a foreign government who may have intervened in our election. That is the clear question they're exploring. There is a one-man band who's focused on wiretapping, and that's President Trump. I would suggest he move away from that and his team move away from this. It's distracting not just to Democrats, but to Republicans.
Why aren't they moving away from it,
issues.
Jen? I mean, you know how this works. You were the communications director. Why, after what James Comey said, are they still pushing it?
You know, I think the theory, I think, would probably be that they want to appeal to a very small portion of the population who helped elect Donald Trump. I'm not saying it was just that population, but will believe what he says. They wanted to make it seem like institutions, government, the media are all against him. I don't think that's actually the reality, but they've doubled and tripled down on it. Now, if he wants to be president of the entire country, he needs a different strategy, and so does his team.
What about that, Matt? I mean, every day we spend talking about wiretapping that, as we know of today, doesn't exist.
Right.
We're not talking about tax reform, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, totally agree. Look, I think Jen is a professional, and I think she gives some good advice here. And I think the thing I worry about as a conservative, and I'm here as the chairman of the American Conservative, not as a Trump surrogate, just to correct that, is I worry about the agenda as well. But here's the fact. We've already had, as a part of this, surveillance done by our government, which has resulted in somebody, and I'm not accusing anybody because I don't know who did it, has already resulted in leaks to some of our premier media institutions, the name of somebody who should not have been revealed, who should not have been unmasked. And that is a very serious problem. So my question would be, if I were sitting on that committee and involved in this process, would be, who else has been surveilled? And I think these are the types of questions the FBI will eventually have to answer to the DOJ, and I think these are the questions that Congress will have to get answers to. There are all types of questions here. I for one, am very upset over the fact that Russia, as your guests have said, for decades tried to influence our elections, and they doubled down this most recent election. I think it's repugnant. I think as Americans, we should all be against that.
So, Matt, just to stick with you for one more second, the leaks, what I hear you saying is the leaks bother you more than the president's spurious allegations against a former president. I hear you. You're waiting to hear what the investigation says. So
we don't know what the facts are until we get the facts.
We know what the facts are today. The facts
well, what does
today,
that mean? When you're in the middle of an investigation, it means nothing until the investigation is concluded. Look, I've been involved in these investigations. They start one place, and they go where the facts lead them. And at the end of this process, we'll all have a better idea of what the facts are.
Yeah. I mean, not a single official, in addition to James Comey, has backed President Trump's claims. We can't find a source.
That's right.
That is
I agree
backing
with
them.
you.
And so I know you're very concerned about the leaks. Understandably, both sides are. But sometimes you need leaks to reveal what's going on. Obviously, Watergate is the prime example.
So are you saying it was okay for the leaks then of John Podesta and the DNC? It sounds like you're saying that.
Are you saying that Deep Throat, for instance, should have gone to jail?
Well, why don't you answer my question first? Were the DNC
Hey, I
and
asked
the
the
Podesta
questions
leaks
here.
okay?
You answer the questions, Matt.
Okay, I'll be fair. I'll answer that question.
Watergate.
I'll answer that question.
Okay, so Deep Throat should have gone to jail.
No, because I think under Deep Throat's situation, I think he was actually a whistleblower, and I think actually you had a president that was using the power of the federal government to punish his political enemies. And quite frankly, about how this investigation got started under the previous administration, seeming to go after politically the opponent of Hillary Clinton. I think these are the questions that worry people. If no one did anything wrong, great, but I think these questions have to be answered.
Jen, your response.
Well, that's just simply not an accurate assessment of what happened. First of all, the intelligence community is made up of individuals who have served Democratic and Republican presidents, many for decades, and I think that's an insult to them and the hard work that they do. They're looking into a number of the connections here, a lot of information that has been out there. Maybe it's coincidental, but what if it's not? And I think Allison touched on a very important point here, which is there's ultimately a question of what's more important here to people and what should Congress be focusing their time on? Is it the connections between a foreign government meaning to do us harm with associates of the current president of the United States? Or is it the individuals who may have provided information to the media? That we should look into that, but I think the first question is much more serious and should receive a lot more attention, and I don't think it's a hard call.
Can I jump in there?
Very quickly, Matt.
Okay, so basically yesterday in the hearing we learned that up to 7 people may have been briefed in the Obama administration on what was happening before the election. This has been going on for more than 60 days. I'd like to have the answers to
that's
which
not
Obama
what we learned.
officials
there
were
were names
briefed on
that were
this.
raised by Trey Gowdy really in a classless way, to be totally honest.
Well,
this could have come from the current White House. It could have come from a Republican, could have come from an independent.
Yeah.
He raised those names and just threw them out there.
Was the Obama administration briefed fully on this investigation before the election? I'd like to have the answer. It's a very simple question.
But if they were briefed, you're sure, Matt, it sounds like that any leaks would be coming from the Obama administration rather than the current occupants of the White House.
No, I think most of the leaks have come from congressional Democrats. I don't put that at Obama's feet, but I'm unsure.
What are you basing that on? Where do you think?
Well,
the leaks
Allison, that's my best guess. I don't think we're going to know the facts until this investigation, which I'm glad is going on, is concluded. Yeah. Until that happens, Republicans have concerns here too.
Sure, and until that happens, you're guessing where you think the leaks would come from based on, I don't know, politics.
And so are you, Allison. You're guessing here too. You're guessing that there's no facts.
No,
we won't know until this investigation is
concluded. Hold on a second, Matt. I'm not actually talking about the leaks. You introduced that. What I was talking about was the president's words. The president's words are what are most important. And the president has made allegations of a felony against a past president based on, as of today, nothing. Nothing.
Can I just invite you?
No credible source. That is what worries me and could be dangerous.
Could I just invite you and everybody covering this to keep following the hearings, and let's see what the conclusions are, both at the congressional arm and at the FBI and DOJ. That's all I'm asking.
They're not exploring that question, so nobody's going to find an answer to that.
Jen, yes, they are.
You think,
I think
Matt,
you're the only one who thinks that.
Matt, you think there are still, hold on, Matt, I want to get to the bottom of this because this is important. You think there are still congressional hearings about President Trump's accusations of wiretapping, and you think that's a good use of taxpayer money?
I think that I think it's a good use of taxpayer money to figure out the extent to which Russia tried to meddle with our elections, which they have been doing for decades.
We all agree.
Okay, good. I think secondarily to that, as a part of this, they also clearly are looking at whether or not people on the Trump campaign had inappropriate contacts with officials of the Russian government, which I think is an appropriate thing as well.
Sure.
As a part of that, as you search for the facts in those two areas, all of these other questions about when this investigation started and if there were political influences and who got briefed and what information were leaked, I'm telling you, it'll all be part of it. And I think that's
what
we need
does that have
as a
to do
country.
with whether President Obama wiretapped Trump Towers?
You want me to try to give you the same answer again? I can give you the same answer, which is I think the term wiretap is a dragnet 1920s term that does not play into 21st century ideas of what surveillance is. We've already seen that there was broad surveillance, and the government has the ability to surveil almost all of our conversations, watch almost everything we do, and already we have a felonious leak of somebody involved in one of those conversations, and to me that's incredibly troubling. I hope it is to all of you.
Okay, Jen, 10 seconds. Do you have a response?
Look, I don't think that. I think the question of whether President Obama wiretapped President Trump should be put to rest, and we should stop talking about it. He doesn't need an apology. I think we need to move forward. The focus and what the American people care about is whether or not the current sitting president was involved with, his associates were involved with a foreign government. That's what the focus of, and to intrude in our election. That's what the focus of the investigation will be on, and I think it's going to be a long time. Democrats have to be patient too, and we'll see what comes out of it.
Jen, Matt.